Hi there, knife people, hello lady and gentlemen. Have you ever gone and done something real stupid with your knife that you instantly regretted and went like, what the just do? Anyway, the funny part about being a knife tuber, you can turn any such screw up into a useful YouTube video, you know, to help other fellas who might have found themselves in the same situation. So here we go. This is Bag Knives, say Shen. Well, here's my tip. Don't multitask when playing with a brand new knife or you will drop it on its tip. This was such a preventable human error that I am quite embarrassed. But why not turn what was supposed to be just a basic knife review into a sharpening video targeted at folks who do not spend $200, $300, $400, $500 on a fixed angle sharpening system with like super expensive diamond stones. You know, just a basic sharpening with a basic sharpening device. This blade is made out of VG10 steel, which is a decent budget stainless with 1% carbon content, which makes it hardenable into the low 60s HRC. But as we say, trust but verify, and I want to see if Bag held that part of the bargain. To verify the calibration on my Rockwell tester, I use this NIST certified block. As you saw in the certificate, this block is right at 62 HRC, and the certificate comes from an independent lab in the US. I have absolutely no experience with Bag Knives' Chinese production line, so I have no idea how they heat treated the steel. VG10 can go as low as 58 and as high as 63, with a 60 to 61 HRC factory recommended target hardness. As you can see, the calibration block measures 62 HRC spot on. Let's see what we got here. I'll speed it up for your convenience. Our first poke came at 60.6 HRC, right in the middle of the target range here. Let's do it one more time. 60.8 this time. And testing forward on the blade toward the tip, I'm getting 61 HRC spot on. Gives me a range of 60.8 plus or minus 0.2. So nowadays, the industry has convinced retailers and consumers alike that advertising hardness of the blade is not really important. I call BS on that and recommend to any of my viewers to not buy knives that have no advertised hardness listed in the description, or to seek videos such as this one that verifies hardness of the blade before making a purchasing decision. This is the path I'm on, and God help us all. Anyway, the reason why I think knowing hardness of your blade is important: if you are only buying 1 or 2 blades to carry around for specific tasks, you're not a knife collector connoisseur with a pinky up attitude, you want to know it because you need to know, will you be able to sharpen it at home with what you've got? Using just traditional stones and basic sharpening devices that are very inexpensive can get tricky. With a harder steel, with steels anything about 60, 61 HRC, gets tricky. It will actually wear out your stone and you will lose that flatness depending on the stone quality. And the ones that can hold their own against such a hard blade are very expensive, more expensive than some of these knives actually. So let's see what we can do about it in this video. So now I know that I need to use the diamond surface, but I thought, why not use something budget this time? Obviously, I have all kinds of fixed angle sharpeners, but as far as budget diamond sharpeners, this is the omnipresent, every hardware store, Amazon carries it, very inexpensive, anywhere between 20 and 30 bucks, and gives you 4 different grids. This one I happen to have here. And my first task will be to sort of recurve the tanto section of my blade to come to the swedge line at a sharp tip. Let me show you using plain language and visual aids on my whiteboard. So this is the original shape of this Seishin blade, and it has a swedge And here is the edge, or what knife aficionados call secondary bevel. Most of us call an edge. And as you can see, the swedge doesn't quite come to the very point on the original knife. And I'm just showing you the fancy grinds here that constitute this blade. So I broke it right here. Let me use my bubbled up eraser here. Yeah, so my goal is to bring the apex to that very point and then blend the rest of the edge, or secondary bevel if you wish, blended in such a way that it ends up looking factory made. So to do that, there's a little bit of a trick. Don't go back and forth, go slightly on diagonal. This way you are not actually cutting in between the same diamonds within the powder. And the grit I started with was 200, which I feel is a little bit too rough for this steel. It varies by steel. So I am going to switch it to 300. Luckily I have 300, 400, and 600 on this particular stone. I'll provide a link to it in the description. So I'm going diagonally. It goes a lot quicker on the 300. And I'm starting to get very quickly to where the blade comes to a nice tip. Obviously, you need to rotate your wrist in a vertical plane to get a nice continuous curve with the rest of the blade. And because of all these angles that meet in the area that you're grinding here, here's a trick to see if you got the point. Create a sharp shadow on the surface where you can see it. And as you can see on the left there, I brought it to right where I need it to be. A nice continuous curve with a very sharp tip. And so now I'm going to prepare to start the actual sharpening process, because now I need to sort of get rid of that flatness that I created on the apex where I removed the chip and blended nicely with the curvature of this tanto tip. Because I don't want to stray away from the factory angle too much, I'm marking my edge with a blue permanent marker, Sharpie. And that shows me that at least on this side of the blade, I caught the angle, the factory angle right away, because I removed the Sharpie marker from the entire secondary bevel. Lock your wrist, follow the curve, and go to town until you get the burr, especially where you flattened the tip. Now, the pressure that you're applying to the stone, or to the plate here, is equivalent to, if you try to rub off a sticker off a glass, like, you know what I'm talking about, like you peel the sticker off the glass and there's a little bit of glue, and you're trying to rub it off. So harder pressure than ball pen writing. I digress. So you could see that I didn't hit the angle on the opposite side right away, so I had to do a little angle matching, and now I am going to town, covering the entire edge. As you can see, I'm removing marker from the entire curve here, so I'm going to continue until I get burr, especially at the tip. And I'm starting to feel the burr, and I continue making sure that it's along the entire curve. VG10 forms pretty large burr, probably because it's not a powder metallurgy steel. The difference between the powder or pressure formed particle steel and the traditional steel is that in the first case the ingot is formed under high temperature in pressure out of powdered metal, and traditional steel's elements are molten together and then poured into the ingot. So both types of steel start as an ingot and then get rolled into sheets. A lot of knife experts on YouTube call old traditionally molten steels ingot steels and powder steels, but all steels go through the ingot stage. The key to the powdered metallurgy is when they get it rolled into sheets, the structure, the molecular structure of these sheets is much more uniform and has a lot fewer imperfections, which in the finished blade can lead to premature wear and chipping. That's why particle metallurgy is taking the knife steel making over. Let's look at our telltale shadow. As you can see, I got right where I want to be with the tip. But we are not done. It's time to switch to the 400 media and keep on going. I would like to take this moment to thank my subscribers, my channel members who chose to pay a small membership fee every month, and especially those of you folks who buy super things, because nothing is more humbling and inspiring to a creator than to receive all these tokens of appreciation. Meanwhile, I am switching to the finest media on this device, which is 600. And the reason I poured some naphtha, also known as lighter fluid, onto my plate is to smooth up the action a little bit, because I feel like a little too much friction still, and I would like to get it as smooth as possible before I weaken the burr completely and then strop the blade. Without the skill, buying an expensive device will not make you into a champion knife sharpener. Forming a burr at the apex, this is the key to learning how to sharpen any knife on pretty much any sharpening device. Here I'm kind of trying to demonstrate that you don't need to spend a fortune on some kind of fancy gear. You know, here's a $15 or $16 Strop made in Ukraine that I showed a whole video about, or big part of the video, recently. And I have a US made diamond paste that set me back less than 30 bucks for a set of 3 different diamond grids. So none of that needs to be expensive. Like this Strop came with a paste that is sufficient to actually finish a working blade. I wanted to show you that if you have even a minimal experience sharpening, you can achieve pretty good results even with the cheap equipment. Forming a good burr at the apex or the very edge is by far the more critical skill than any other sharpening skill. There are a gazillion of videos on YouTube about that, including some of mine and other prominent sharpeners. We are not going to sort of focus on a single one technique does it all approach. Take what you can from this video and just go forth and sharpen. After a while, you will sort of pick and choose a set of rules that you personally follow. To me, stropping, for example, has one rule. There are no rules in stropping. You strop very little. It's not a material removing technique. You're just trying to get to where you don't feel the burr anymore. Sounds like I woke up our parakeets. Enjoy the lovely singing in the background. Anyway, here's just a regular printer paper. That's what I'm getting here. Let's see the factory edge in comparison. Looks and sounds like maybe I matched it pretty well. Let's take a look under the microscope at the results of my work here. Here's a photo again of before sharpening. Let's flip it over, see the other side. Nice and crisp at the tip, and the bevel is pretty flat. And here a trained eye can clearly see imperfections in my sharpening. I welcome them to comment so that anyone can benefit from this learning opportunity. The factory edge, here it is for comparison. It's not bad. Looks like they used belt grinding because there's a little convexity to it. Amazingly, I was able to keep the crisp separation line between the two bevels here. The behind the edge thickness on the upswet portion of the tanto here is pretty high, about 35 thousandths of an inch. That gives you a lot of extra toughness when you're bearing down on the knife. So I truly don't expect it to split this 7/1000th of an inch fishing line like I did with other knives and other videos. But here you go. It's trying. It is trying in earnest. And I think if I lower the angle just maybe 5 degrees from its about 22 to maybe 17 degrees, I think it would do it. Thanks for watching. Good night and God bless.